Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, who's on first, what's on second, and IKF is in center field. So, yes, the kind of sort of odd man out Yankee shortstop slash third baseman who's kind of been outshined a little bit by the youngsters, now flagging some fly balls in center as a kind of a stopgap solution with Harrison Bader on the IL. So, kind of interesting there. So, kind of give you my insight of that as well as some other Yankee injury news that just keep piling up there. But before you do, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. So, wherever you see the like or a subscribe button. If you're not already a subscriber of this, make a change in your life and do that right now. So as mentioned at the top, IKF, Isaiah kind of Falefer, as I say, if you kind of want to, if you don't want to be lazy, out center field, Yankee camp kind of surprising people taking some fly balls in center field. Now he's being kind of tutelaged by outfield instructor Nick Swisher, of course, the former Yankee and kind of this personality. It's kind of an interesting situation. Obviously, this is just kind of a quick fix solution. Harrison Bader going to miss the opening of the season just with the oblique injury, so he's going to be on the injury reserve. So, the Yankees had a couple options. Kind of mentioned it, on my most recent YouTube/TV series with Stacy from Lockdown Yankees. So what some options the Yankees could use? Again, they could kind of throw Aaron Hicks out there. I mean, he's technically a center fielder, and that's kind of his natural position. Would kind of make sense. And yes, he's still on the team, even though fans want to get rid of him. Or the Yankees could have kind of kicked the tires of maybe Aaron Judge, who we saw a lot of last season play center field. He seemed to like it, and it kind of seemed to translate, to the plate numbers where he can had a magical season hitting 62 home runs. I don't love the idea of him in center field, but again, it was an option that Boone could have considered. Or you could even see Oswaldo Cabrera, who gets also a little time out there, pretty much all the outfield positions. So gets this with his versatility. So the Yankees had a few options. So the fact that kind of Fleff is out there and Boone seemed committed that yes, come this upcoming weekend, very likely going to see kind of Fleff out there in center field. So this seems like a real thing. They probably want to get him some games under his belt. So he's probably going to use a few days just to run some drills. And again, the early return seems competent out there. He's not really known as a speedster, so you kind of have to fly shag balls out there, especially in the gaps. I don't know if he has that type of speed. Well, yet to remain to be seen. But I guess the Yankees seem confident enough to give it a try. So not totally against it. It seems interesting, but it kind of goes to show that maybe the Peraza and of course Volpe really make an impact there. Up the middle there, mainly with Peraza. Seemed like hitting a home run the other day in the Toronto game. And kind of Fleff also went deep, too recently, so it's not all him. But Peraza has really been impressive, especially defensively, that maybe the Yankees are considering possibly Peraza kind of getting, at least early on in April, getting the nod there at shortstop. And then it kind of makes IKF a little more expendable. And then you could play him out there in center field. So, again, it's probably more good news for Peraza. Kind of as mentioned before, some previous episode with Stacy from Lockdown Yankees. Again, that episode also available if you want to kind of scroll down there in the recent episodes listings there. She was on. She kind of said, and we kind of both mentioned that, yes, even though he's doing great, very most likely not going to see him to start the season there. But maybe as we go along at some point, maybe he does come in there. But this goes to show that the young guys have been impressive. So kind of pushing out the little bit older guys there. IKF there at 28 years old. So that's the latest with that. I don't think it's detrimental for the Yankees, and I think it's only something that would happen, for a week or two until Bader is back. Hopefully, cross fingers, and then everyone kind of shifts back in their normal position there, and then maybe it's just a bit of a platoon, dogfight there at shortstop between kind of Fleff and Peraza, and of course Donaldson still there, and he mashed a 3-run home run just yesterday or the day before actually. So at least showing some sign of life there, but between Donaldson and kind of Fleff, though, if you want to talk about third base there, still Donaldson's still going to probably get the nod there more times than not, even though kind of Fleffer, technically is a third baseman as well. That's kind of where you guys Gold Glove news with Texas. But again, Donaldson making way more money, at least offensively, home run threat. You're looking at Donaldson at least a little better than kind of Fleffer there. So you need a little thump in the lineup, even though he's been a disappointment. So kind of Fleffer might just be the odd man out there. So they're just looking for where can we put him, where can we get him at bats, and he's on the hook for the Yankees for $6 million there. So you're gonna play the guy somewhere, and then after the season, obviously he's gonna be gone, and then you have to worry about it anymore. And then probably moving forward, you're looking at Peraza as the shortstop moving forward for the Yankees for the next, at least next foreseeable future, and probably let Gleyber also walk away after the season. So you probably, at least next season, you're probably looking at Volpe at second base, Peraza at shortstop, and then third base, kind of remains to be seen. Obviously, won't be Donaldson. They're not going to pick up his option for 2024, nor his I can't see the Yankees do that in any way unless he has an amazing 2023, which I doubt that's going to happen. So third base remains to be open. We'll see how that goes. He still have DJ on the contract, so maybe then DJ LeMahieu becomes the de facto third baseman again. But we're looking way too ahead in 2024, so let's just focus on this season. Now, I also mentioned before, another kind of injury bug for the Yankees. Kind of list has been grown. Latest now is Jose Trevino, the catcher. A little bit of a wrist injury. Now, Boone and Trevino said it's really nothing major at this point. Possibly, though, they might have to give him a cortisone injection there. So, that doesn't really sound great to me. But nevertheless, they're seeing that it's something by at least the end of this week should, be healed up. And, should be no delay of him being there as the starting catcher there, or at least being on the roster there for opening day. Kind of getting to that, they actually announced that Cole will be the opening day starter for the Yankees. So, no surprise there. And, of course, we know Higgy's always been known as Cole's valet for most of the time, not always, but most of the time. So wouldn't be shocked if Higgy there is the opening day catcher, just to give maybe Trevino a little extra day off or two, just with the wrist. But other than that, then you might see the Yankee all-star catcher Trevino be there, catching Cole, which, they kind of transition to him as well. So I wouldn't be shocked either way with that one. So that's with the kind of the news there with the Yankees. Kind of off the field a little bit. Yankee great Joe Pepitone did pass away the other day, 82 years old. Didn't really hear anything that he was being sick. He was sick, but he was kind of almost to say the last of that kind of mantle crew, probably from the early '60s. There again, he was, obviously he was good buddies with Mickey Mantle. It was kind of with that little fraternity there with Mantle, Whitey Ford, Yogi Berra, Billy Martin, of course. Even though Billy got traded away from the Yankees, obviously he still stays friend with Mantle. So he kind of had that little crew there for a while, just wreaking all sorts of havoc. And again, good thing they didn't have smartphones and social media back then, because God knows what would have came up in the news. But kind of Pepitone, kind of the last of that group there. So I don't know if anyone's left. Obviously, Mantle's gone, Whitey's gone, Yogi's gone, Billy's gone, of course, since '87. So probably that seemed like he was kind of the last of that sort of group. And I'm not gonna make fun of the guy, but he kind of became a bit of a hanger-oner a little bit. You would see him a lot. If you're a Yankee fan going to Yankee games, he would be, like diagonally across the street there. Sometimes he'd be able to stand there, like, signing balls for $20. These guys never made the big bucks, the big money back then. So, you would hear like sort of like, if you want him, he would try to like work his way. Like he would contact you. It was like, hey, you want me to make an appearance at your place, and give me a few bucks and I'll show up. And just kind of scheming here to make a few dollars here and there. And like, I'm not going to blame the guy because he was never able to cash in. Again, his heyday was back in the '60s, and again, players made money for themselves back then, but obviously nothing like it is today. I mean, you could be a player, play 5 years these days, and pretty much be set up for the rest of your life. You didn't have that back then in the '60s. So, he always kind of connive and hustle a little bit. He'll probably say, I'll spend a little time with you, maybe give me a few bucks, and I'll talk with you for an hour or two and tell you some Yankee stories. Like, he was always kind of trying to pick up a few dollars here and there. So, I'm not going to say skeevy or sleazy or anything like that. No. But obviously, I was trying to make a few bucks here and there. So it's just kind of like, what are you going to say? But nevertheless, unfortunately, he passed away at age 82. Now, very recently, just to plug myself, of course, I was a guest on the Yankees Morning Brew Show the other morning. And I'm going to try to find a way to have actually the audio from that maybe available here just so you can listen to it, and just kind of knocked around some of the same topics I knocked around previously with Stacy from Lockdown Yankees, just kind of discussing Volpe, Peraza, the young guys, a couple of different Yankee issues, because we went off the menu as well, talking about Don Mattingly Hall of Fame opportunities, and whether some of the Yankees from the Torrey dynasty, mainly Pettit and Posada, should they be considered at some point? So a little interesting conversation, try to make it available, at least the audio of that. So I kind of did that. And of course, I told them a Pepitone story. So, might as well tell it here as well since we're on the line there. So again, this is kind of a Yankee folklore story. Don't know if it's true or not, but basically it was, towards like the end of the Yankee run of the '60s with Casey Stengel and so forth, at least with Casey Stengel's tenure there with the Yankees in the early '60s. It was a spring training game, and basically Mantle and Pepitone were running late. It was one of those deals where I don't think this really happened, but they're almost like putting on the uniform in the limo as they're trying to get to the spring training game. They show up, and I guess they were partying either the night before or even before the game. I'm assuming it was a day game, so maybe they were just hungover from the night before, or just on an all-night bender that never ended, and they were pretty much hungover bad. So they show up to this game. Casey Stengel sees them. He's obviously very pissed off, but just sort of punishes them, makes them start the game. Now it's a spring training game. He could have just sit them down and like, all right, guys, let's take a breather this game and whatever. But no, he actually wanted to put them out there in the Florida heat to sort of torture them a little bit. So first at bat, Mantle gets up, and despite his condition, he just bombs a big home run. Boom, big home run, kind of Babe Ruth style. Bruce is coming a little dry there himself. Rounds the bases, comes around, and I guess Casey Stengel, since Mantle's his star, kind of gives him a little special treatment. Says, "All right, kid, you're good for. I'll take you out of the game. You can sit down on the rest of the bench there." However, Joe Pepitone is not Mickey Mantle. So I guess because Casey Stengel to stick it to Pepitone a little bit to torture him, he actually leaves him in the entire game to play out there in his condition. And again, playing in the spring training game in the Florida Heat there. And this is a way to sort of beat up and punish Pepitone a little bit there. So kind of a funny thing the way he treats Mantle, but then let Pepitone get tortured for 9 innings there just as punishment for being a little not into shape, let's just say, put it in that. Now, again, that's kind of a Yankee folklore story. Who knows if it's true or not? There's so many of those stories with, Whitey Ford telling them and Mickey Mantle. And, there was another story going with Mickey Mantle back in the 50s, kind of having to go out his windowsill and kind of getting locked out of his apartment and kind of going, walking across the windowsill outside of a building to get to the apartment next to him. All sorts of these stories there. Who knows half of them are true or not, but part of Yankee lore. So, that's the latest for this episode. Again, kind of Falefa, likely getting some time in center field. Interesting. Jose Trevino, little wrist injury. Doesn't seem serious, but another one to rack up there on the Yankee list there along with everyone else. So, Section 420, Talking Yankees. Catch you next time.